Hey, what's up? My name is Jesse Dow with eXp Realty, and I'm a top 100 influencer agent. I'm also a six-time icon that has closed over 832 transactions here at eXp Realty. I've also generated over $1.1 million in earned revenue share, along with $200,000 in stock to the culture program. Now, this channel gives you elite behind-the-scenes access to real numbers, real strategies, and all the updates here at eXp Realty so you can make the smartest decision for you and your business. Now, if you're a serious agent who wants multiple revenue streams and real growth, this is the channel for you, so consider hitting that subscribe button. And today, I'm going to talk about the real effects of technology in the real estate industry and how it's directly impacting real estate agents right now, and some of the myths and some of the realities out there. So you hear about how AI is really going to change real estate. You know, I just got off of a call where we talked about the importance of technology and how the consumer is viewing technology. And they gave an example how they were just sitting at this big mastermind in Colorado led by Mike Del Prete, and it was all of the leaders of every real estate brokerage and tech portal. So you're talking about Zillow, Compass, eXp, KW, the list goes on. And they put up an example of a letter that was written to Chewy Dog Food. And everyone there, 40 leaders, said that's AI generated. And the lady that was speaking said, actually it wasn't. It was a letter I wrote back in 2019 to someone on the executive team. They were just showing it. Anyways, this was a letter that was written in 2019, but the reaction from unanimously was that the letter was AI written because of the long hyphen in the context of the email. Now, every single time I see something pop up that has that big hyphen, I automatically disregard it and I skip right over it. That's what's happening with our consumers, and that's what's happening with AI. So AI is very generic. And if you want the most vanilla outcome, and this is what I've said since day one, especially when it comes to criminal law, real estate, is if you want the most vanilla outcome, plug both sides into GPT, let it give you the results. However, the machine is learning, right? So a bad example of that would be an AI. We have an AI for some people in our company, and recently they asked the AI, and it's a mirror image so they can ask it questions, and they asked it a question like, how many people will be at this brokerage in 2030? And it gave them a number, and it said, how many support staff will it have? And it gave them a number, and the number was way different than what it is today with the ratios. So the people that did that automatically assumed that there were going to be these massive layoffs, and it created a rumor. Well, the data wasn't actually accurate. It was using it based on the current scale that it is today, which obviously, if you understand the scales of the economy, you know that the numbers have to change and everything's always evolving. So there's always the good and the bad. The one thing that's very evident, and they keep saying, is the agent that uses AI is going to replace the agent who is not using AI. It's not that AI is going to replace the agent. So this led to a conversation of, are there better options out there with the competitors when it comes to technology? Are they advanced? And here's the simple truth of the matter, and I learned this in corporate America. We would see these new companies pop up, and they were able to use better data, they were able to use faster systems, and they were able to just basically capitalize on opportunities so much quicker because they weren't building on an old tech stack. So these old breweries had all these old operations and all of this old data that was very antiquated, but it gave you the same result. I will say that the newer companies operated very thin with human overhead, and it's the same thing I see with real estate brokerages today. Is the real estate industry is very different, because if you look at a normal like franchise office, say a Keller Williams office, you typically have your market center manager, you got the person that does the recruiting, you got your broker, you have your receptionist, and maybe like one or two support staff in that office. So you're talking about like 5 to 7 people with a 200 to 400 agent operation. Here at eXp Realty, we have over 2,000 support staff inside of eXp World that are full-time employees. That's crazy for the amount of agents. So when you look at that number, it's just mind-blowing how much support and how many things, because this model can be rinsed and repeated. So when you're looking into the future, is you hear all these people saying they're going to disrupt. Like if you just saw Lovable AI, which builds websites and apps based on your prompt inputs, they just did a funding round where I think they raised $200 million. It's the biggest funding round ever done in the last decade out of Europe, out of a 1 billion evaluation. That's only a 9-month-old company. And so you see all these other little brokerage popping up saying, and their number one piece to leverage is what they all love to say is we're just like eXp, but we're better. You guys, and then what they do is they try to sell these agents on an idea that they're going to get in early because they're going to have the same result eXp had. I'm sorry to say, but someone like Real has been around. When eXp went public in 2014, Real was there in 2014 also. It's why did eXp see an explosive growth? And then why is all of a sudden Real see an explosive growth? I will tell you, in my professional opinion, is that Real saw an explosive growth is because they used a lot of the influencer agents, and they brought in Sharon, and he was able to build a culture over there that attracted a lot of these people that felt like they weren't getting what they wanted over at eXp. So if you look at, I bet you 95% of the top agents at Real, influencer agents, were at eXp before. So Real today is at 24,000 agents. eXp is at 90-something thousand agents total. So when you look at eXp, it's almost 3.5 times bigger than Real. Why is that? And at the end of the day, success leaves clues. And we look at the average sales per agent, and at the end of the day, it's all about sales. eXp is at almost 7 units per agent. Real is in the 2s per agent. So the production difference is very, very different. The revenue share is very, very different, favored to eXp. And the average revenue share per agent is wildly different than Real. It's way greater. It's about 25% more. So at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. Numbers don't lie, people do. Or they try to shift the numbers to make it more presentable in their favor. I just talk about the facts. And when you think about what's going to happen in the industry, is a lot of these companies that pop up, they're just rinsing and repeating and doing the same thing. This is why eXp really changed the industry, is because they really did something new. They went to this cloud model. No one else had ever seen that before. So taking another company that pops up with a cloud model and a revenue share model, they're not doing anything new. They're just trying to evolve the idea. Now, I've talked to many agents that have gone to Real, LPT, Epic, all the things. And then, do you know that, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but so many agents come back to eXp every single day. And I talked to recently 2 team owners that do big volume. They left eXp to go to Real. One went to Real, one went to eXp. Or LPT. They both came back, and they both said the exact same thing, which I've heard this multiple times. These just happen to be 2 influential team leaders. They said the user interface was slightly different. The technology was slightly different. But the one thing that really mattered most to my business, which is what created the biggest problem for me, was the support. And I hear this all the time. And eXp's support is hands down way better and getting paid immediately. Now, there's some agents out there that I've seen in the comments saying, well, I'm at eXp and I don't get paid for 2 to 3 weeks or whatever it may be. Well, they're in an attorney state that does things differently. As long as eXp gets a image of the check, they can deposit in your bank account, and they float $30 million a day for agents to get paid on demand. That is crazy. So a lot of these companies are just trying to scrap. However, right now, there are 3 kids in a basement trying to build a cloud-based AI real estate brokerage that will include no agents. Will this be a disruption to the industry? The answer is it has to be a somewhat of a disruption, because we've never seen this before. Is it going to shape the way that real estate is done? I do not believe so. And you might say, well, you're a fool for believing that. Everything's always evolving. And I've been the biggest proponent of change in this industry. However, how many companies have came along and tried to eliminate the agent? Think about it. Redfin, Open Door. And then what happens? They end up turning in and facing inward and saying, now we're partners of real estate agents. The crazy thing is over the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a massive shift in technology with real estate. This is why when I laugh when these agencies pop up and they're like, we have this great new technology. And it's just the same thing. It just might look a little bit cleaner. The biggest change that's going to come to our industry in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be this right here. Let me show you. What is this? Can you see that?
I can see something, but I might need a little more detail about what it is. Could you just...
That's my GPT voice. That's what the change is coming. There's going to be a lot of B2B change with the way we interact with everything. So I believe moving forward is like when you go up to your Sentry Lock box, you're going to be like, open up your Sentry Lock app and say, I need you to open up the lockbox at 123 Main Street. And then it's going to either recognize your face or whatever, and it's going to open up that lockbox. I believe there is so much voice coming. And I already see it. You already see it with AI voice at like drive-through restaurants. That is where the implementation is going to come into play. And it's the brokerage that has the most data is who is going to win. That is then bolting on the technology. That is who is going to win, hands down. We already have a massive competitive advantage for the sheer fact that we've built our own MLS system on the back end. In case one goes down, we can flip the switch and pop it on. We syndicate to all the websites without skipping a beat. That is one massive competitive advantage. Another competitive advantage that we have is that we are the single largest real estate brokerage on the planet. Now, why is that important? Is because we have a lot of information and data to put into our pond to then extract and make smart business decisions. We know what agents need that is effective. We know every time we make a move, how does it impact the agents? Agents will say things all the time that they need in their business, but then only a select few will use it. We can't solve for the small things. We have to solve for the big things. And at the end of the day, tiny hinges do swing big doors. So it is making those micro actions that then layer on to take our business to the next level. And that's the one thing I love about eXp is we are the only real estate brokerage that has a CEO with a real estate license. And you see all of these people out there suing each other. Look at Compass suing Zillow. You look at Open Door being sued or suing somebody. Rex Realty was the king of lawsuits. This is the same thing that happened in the AI space. And you hear a lot of AI people talk about this, is that in the United States, they spent so much time suing each other that allowed China to sneak in there with DeepSeek, do it at a fraction of the price, and it's blowing everyone away. That is what's happening in the real estate space right now, is like all these companies are suing each other, and we really should be just focusing on the consumer and helping the agents grow and sell more business. So I think in the next 2, 3, 4 years, you're gonna see a wild shift in I've already seen the formulation of eXp doing this, and the fact that we're at 90,000, we're gonna swell up and grow like you've never seen before. We got upgraded from a neutral stock to a purchase stock, and one of the reasons why was our international growth had doubled year over year. Number 2 is our financials are in really good shape. Number 3, we attract teams and brokerages and consistently help them out. But the 4th reason was the fact that we are leading the charge in the AI world. You see, a lot of these companies don't have the resources or the bandwidth to really do it. So they're trying to layer in all of these systems that go on top of other systems. And you're not really creating any value props for your agents or your organizations. So there's a wild difference. And I asked Leo Perea, our CEO, today, I said, what is the advantage that these other brokerages that come on that say that they have? And he said at the end of the day, the only advantage that they have is that they're brand new and they get to start from a clean slate of a tech stack. But at the end of the day, it's all about the agent count and how you're able to effectively use those technologies and tools into your business. So I see and I hear everything that's going on, and I see the fruits of the labor, and it's just been wildly interesting to see. Especially, like I always say, I was in the perfect opportunity with the year I was born in 1982, because what I saw was when I was able to go from the revolution of, into like Microsoft Office, Outlook, and all those things. And I saw that completely transition, going from like a floppy disk to a CD-ROM to the app. I was able to go through all that during school. And then I saw social media pop up, and I saw Facebook become a thing. And I went through the transition of AI, or not, sorry, digital and social media marketing. And then now I'm seeing the evolution into AI. If you are, old enough to transition through all those things, you have a massive competitive advantage. And just think about it, and that's kind of like correlating to real estate brokerages. If you remember all those things and you've been able to adapt and add them in and layer them into your business, you have a big advantage. If you're an agent that's just starting out and you're just starting out in the AI world, you might actually be doing some things that work against you. Just like that letter that was written that everyone said, aha, that's AI, and then they automatically disregard it. So you have to be very careful. AI in technology can also be the demise of what we're trying to get accomplished here. So you have to be very, very mindful of your audience. And I think we're in the most exciting time. And I think I love the position that we're in. I love how we're taking advantage of all the things. And I wish you nothing but success. If you ever want to jump on a call and have a conversation, go ahead and schedule right here. This is directly on my Calendly link. You will book a call directly with me. I will be the one on that call. I know there's a lot of agents out there who say, call me. And you book the call, then some random person that shows up. That's not how we operate over here. It's me on the call every single time. You can go down in the description, get my phone number, my email. I'd love to have a call with you. That's how we can do this. This channel's been up and going for like 6-7 years, and I absolutely love it. And until next time, we'll catch you later.